What's going on, guys? Reed TV here. Just getting set up. We're going to go through the all the cuts around the league and check out some of the rosters. All right, let's get started. First, we got the Buffalo Bills. They cut quarterback Shane Buccelli, quarterback Mike White, running back Frank Gore Jr. That's we all know who that is. Jarvion Howard, Elijah Young, wide receiver Grant Dubose, Deion Kane, Stephen Gosnell, KJ Hamler. I was a little surprised about that one. Caden Prather, Laviska Shenault Jr. He hasn't really found a home. He's been kind of going around the league a little bit. Jalen Virgil, Christian Wilkerson. And then we go to the tight end, Zach Davidson, Kaliki Latu, Matt Sokol. And then you go to O-lineman Jacob Bayer, Travis Clayton, Mike Edwards, Dan Feeney, Richard Garage, Kendrick Green, and Rush Reamer. Then you got defensive end Nelson Caesar, Paris Shan, defensive tackle Marcus Harris, Zion Logue, Jordan Phillips, Casey Rogers. Then you got linebacker Jimmy Soralo, Justin Hollins, Keonta Jenkins, Edufan Ulafoshio, probably did not say that right, Zy Alexander. Then we go to cornerbacks, Zy Alexander, Corey Couch, Daquan Hardy, Trenton Herndon, Garrett Hollis Jr., Dane Jackson, and then safety Derek Forrest, and kicker Caden Davis. All right. Then we're going to go to the Miami Dolphins. They released running back Mike Boone, Aaron Shamklin, wide receiver Andrew Armstrong, Tariq Black, Eric Azukanama, AJ Henning, Theo Wees Jr. Then they tied in Pharaoh Brown, Chris Myrick, Hayden Rucci. Then the offensive tackles, Jackson Carmen, Braden Daniels, Ryan Hayes, Mason Brooks, Bayron Matos, Jalen McKenzie, Josh Pryby, Addison West, and then the defensive tackle Matt Dickerson, Alex Hunley, Ben Style, and then linebackers Eugene Asante, Quentin Bell, Daquan Jackson, Mohamed Karma, Derek McClendon, Grayson Murphy, Channing Tyndall, and then cornerbacks BJ Adams, Cornell Armstrong, Cameron Dantzler, Mike Hilton, Ethan Robinson, Kendall Sheffield, and then safeties Patrick McMorris, John Saunders Jr., and then punter Ryan Stonehouse. And then we go to the New England Patriots. They released a bunch of people as well. You got quarterback Ben Woldridge, and then running back Michael Bernard, JaMycal Hasty, Terrell Jennings, Shane Watts, John Giles, a wide receiver, John Giles, Phil Lutz, Jeremiah Webb, and then tight end Jaheim Bell, C.J. Dupree, Cole Folderingham. That's a tricky last name. G. Scott Jr. And then offensive tackle DeMontre Johnson. And then offensive lineman Sidy Sow, Tyrese Robinson. And then guard Mekhi Butler, Jack Conley, Layden Robinson, Cole Strange. And then center Alec Lindstrom. And then we go to the defense. Defensive end Truman Jones, Jerome Robinson. And then defensive tackle Philip Bleby, Kyle Pico, David Olajiga, Javari Ritzy. Then you go to linebacker R.J. Moten, Monty Rice, Cam Riley, Braden Swenson. And then cornerback Trey Avery, Miles Battle, Isaiah Bolden, Brandon Crossley, Jordan Polk. Then you go to safety Marcus Epps. Then you got defensive back. He must have Kobe Minor, and then kicker Parker Romo. And then you go to the Jets. They released quarterback Adrian Martinez, running back Lawrence Tafili, wide receiver Demary Miller, Ontario Wilson, tight end Neil Johnson, Zach Kuntz, and then offensive tackle Liam Fornadel, I don't know, Samuel Jackson. And then go to the defense, Michael Fletcher. Defensive line, Fatorma Mulba. And then defensive tackle, Fedarian Mathis. Linebacker, Jamin Davis. Rashad Weaver. Cornerback, Jarek Bernard Converse. Defensive back, Ryan Cooper Jr., Mario Goodrich, and Tanner McAllister. So that's the AFC East. Few names in there that kind of stood out, you know. A lot of former Commander players, which is crazy if you go down to the Jets. Jamin Davis was a first-round pick for the Commanders. Fedarian Mathis was a second-round pick. And both of them are cut from other teams. It just shows you how badly the Commanders drafted over the years. All right, we're going to go to the AFC North. We're going to Baltimore Ravens, quarterback Devin Leary, tight end Baylor Cupp, offensive tackle Reed Holsky, and then go to the defense, safety Beau Braid, and then defensive back MJ Devonshire. So not a lot of names from the Baltimore Ravens. Cincinnati Bengals, quarterback Desmond Ridder, quarterback Peyton Thorne, and then you go to running back Gary Brightwell, Quali Conley, Kendall Milton. Then you go to wide receiver Cole Burgess, Jamoy Mays, Jordan Moore, Rashad Owens, Kendrick Pryor, Isaiah Williams. Then we're going to tight end Tanner McLachlan. Offensive tackle Devin Cochran, Andrew Coker, Caleb Antony. Then you go to guard Jackson Kirkland, Andrew Stiber, Cordell Volson, Seth McLaughlin, Andrew Rame, And then we go over to defensive end. Raymond Johnson III. Isaiah Thomas. Defensive tackle, Taven Bryan. Nose tackle, McTelvin Agam. Then they go to linebacker, Joe Giles Harris. Maima Njigameta. Probably said that wrong. Apologize. Craig Young. Nate Brooks. Jalen Davis. Cornerback, Braylon Lux. Lance Robinson. Safety, Shaquan Loyal. Safety, Jalen Key. And then long snapper, Cal Adonis. Adomidit. I don't even know. But yes, that is for the Cincinnati Bengals. Desmond Ridder, he can't seem to put it together. Once was thought going to take over for the Falcons. See how that goes. Then we're going to go over to the Cleveland Browns. You got quarterback Tyler Huntley, who was released. Running back Amani Marshall. Pierre Strong. Toa Tua. Trayvon Williams. Wide receiver Chase Cota. Caden Davis. Deontay Johnson. Keyshawn Johnson. Cade McDonald. Then we go to tight end Sal Cannella. Mitch Van Voren. Then go to offensive tackle Jackson Barton. Sebastian Gutierrez. Jackson Ivey. Lorenzo Thompson. And Keelan Zaire. Guard Javion Cohen. D'Artagnan Tinsley. And then center Bucky Williams. Defensive end Julian Okawara. And then defensive tackles Ralph Holly, Sam Kamara. And then defensive end KJ Henry, Titus Leo. And then we go to linebacker Marvin Moody, Charles Thomas, Chigozie Aniuzium. At cornerback, Tony Brown, Christian Holmes, Keenan Isaac, Lamarion James, cornerback Darius Rush, and then safety Nick Needham, Christopher Edmonds, and then kicker Dustin Hopkins. Once again, a few names from the Commanders there. Dustin Hopkins, didn't have a really good year for the Browns. Not a lot of these names on here that I'm really familiar with. Then we're going to go on to the Pittsburgh Steelers. We got quarterback Logan Woodside, running back Evan Hull, running back Lou Nichols III, Trey Sermon. Then we go to wide receiver Max Hurlman, Brandon Johnson, Lance McCutcheon, Keyshawn Williams, and Robert Woods. That's a veteran name. Then we go to tight end Kevin Volish and J.J. Galbraith. And you go to offensive tackle Gareth Warren, Dylan Cook, Steve Jones, Doug Nestor, Julian Pearl, Max Sharping, I believe, Aiden Williams. And we're going to go to the defensive side. We got defensive lineman Kyler Ball, Dominique Davis, DeMarvin Leal, Iku. At linebacker, we got Iku Leota, Devin Harper, Mark Robinson, Julius Westkoff, Kenny Willishkish. I guess that's how I don't know how to say that. And then we go to defensive backs, Cam Alexander, Beanie Bishop Jr., Sebastian Castro, Chuck Clark, Deshaun Jameson, Quindale Johnson, Kyler McMichael, James Pierre, Daryl Porter, Mikey Victor, and then kicker Ben Sauls, punter Cameron Johnston, and long sniper Jake McQuaid. That was all for the AFC North. A few names in there. Again, some of these guys are going to get picked up and placed on practice squads. And we're going to go to the AFC South. We're going to start off with the Houston Texans. Got running back J.J. Taylor. Wide receiver Xavier Johnson. Dalton Keene at tight end. And Trey McKitty. Offensive tackle Trent Brown, which was kind of surprising there. Defensive end Solomon Byrd. Linebacker Nick Neiman. Cornerback Arthur Mollett. And defensive back Zeke McPherson. Then we're going to go to the Indianapolis Colts. You got quarterback Jason Bean. And then we got a running back Ulysses Bentley the fourth. Khalil Herbert, Nate Nodal, Naquan Wright. Then we go to wide receiver Aju. Wow. Wide receiver Tyler Common. Wide receiver Coleman Owen. Landon Parker. Blaine Taylor. Laquan Treadwell. And then we go to tight end. You got Maximilian Mang, Sean McKeon, and then Jelani Woods. Jelani Woods, they had big plans for him. I guess things just aren't working out there. You got offensive tackle Marshall Foreigner, Marcellus Johnson, center Wesley French, Mose Vavio, Jason Sills at guard. And then you go to the defensive side, you got defensive end Marcus Haynes, Isaiah Land, Desmond Little, Darrell Nachami. And then you go to defensive tackle, you got Devontae Davis, Josh Tapau. And then we have linebacker Austin Ajaki, Jake Chaney, Solomon DeShields, Joseph Vaughn, Julius Brents at cornerback, Alice Johnson, Chris Lamons, BJ Mays, Duke Shelley, Sam Womack III. Then you go to safety Ladarius Tension, Trey Washington, and then kicker Maddox Trujillo. Then we're going to go over to the Jacksonville Jaguars. You got cornerback Seth Hennigan, cornerback John Walford. Got a running back Kevin Harris, Jaquindon Jackson, wide receiver Chandler Brayboy, Cam Camper, Joshua Cephas, Trenton Irwin, Darius Lassiter, Eli Pancol, Dorian Singer, tight end Sean Bowman, John Carpenter, Copenhaver, Patrick Herbert, Quentin Morris. You go to offensive line, you got Tremaine Antrim, Jerome Carvin, Javon Foster, Ricky Lee, Sal Wormley. We go to the defensive side. Got defensive end Miles Cole, Jordan Jefferson, a defensive tackle, Tyler Lacey, James Carpenter, Ethan Downs, Eli Mostert, Kiwi Rose. We're going to linebacker Branson Combs, Chad Muma, Kenny H. Lovely at cornerback, as well as DeAndre Prince. Then we go to safety, Daniel Thomas. And then we got defensive backs, Jabbar Muhammad, Cameron Silliman Craig, Donico Slaughter, and Aiden White. All right, then we go to Tennessee Titans. You got cornerback Trevor Siemian, running back Jamar Jefferson, Jordan Mims, wide receiver Jaquan Jackson, Mason Kinsley, Matt Landers, James Proch II, Xavier Restrepo, who is probably going to get brung back on the practice squad unless somebody else picks him up. I've heard a lot of things about his work ethic and stuff like that the team really liked. TJ Sheffield. And then you go to tight ends. You got Drake Danby, Thomas Adukia, Josh Weil. He's on there twice. Then you got offensive tackle Jalen Duncan, Brendan James, Andrew Rapuchich, guard Arlington Hambit, center Sam Mustafer. Let me go over to defense. They got a defensive back right there. I don't know. That kind of throws you off a little bit. We got Kendall Brooks. Let me go to defensive end, Joe Gaziano. That's probably how you say it. Defensive tackle, Josiah Bronson, Cam Horsley, as well as defensive tackle, TJ Smith. You got nose tackle, Isaiah Rikes, and then Carlos Watkins. We go to linebacker. You got Brian Asamoah II, Amari Burney, Desmond Evans, Ali Gay, Khaleke Hudson, Blake Lynch, Jalen Kimber, Clarence Lewis at cornerback, as well as Jamari Harris, Davion Ross, and Amani Aurori, and then safety Julius Wood and Joshua Bledsoe. So a few names there. Then we're going to go over to the AFC West. Start off with the Denver Broncos. We have wide receiver Joquan Davis, guard Xavier Truss, Clay Webb. Then you have defensive tackle Michael Dumfor, and then linebacker J.B. Brown and Andrew Farmer. You got safety Sam Franklin, and defensive backs Michael Abram, Gregory Jr., and Joshua Pickett. So not a lot of names there for the Denver Broncos. Kansas City Chiefs. You have quarterback Bailey Zappi, defensive tackle Marlon Tapulalotu, and then safety Mike Edwards. So only 3 names for the Chiefs, which is surprising there. Probably the least amount of cuts we've seen so far. Then we're going to go over to the Las Vegas Raiders. We have Marquez Callaway, Philip Dorsett, Ketron Jackson Jr., Colin Johnson, tight end Quadar Ismail, and you got offensive tackle Gotalib Azadi. Man, some of these names. Offensive tackle Parker Clements, center Gerard Hufford, defensive end Andre Carter II, defensive end Ja Joyner, and then defensive tackle Tank Booker and DeAndre Coburn, and then linebacker Michael Barrett, Amari Gaynor, Jalen Smith, John Humphrey, Sam Webb at cornerback, and At safety, Hudson Clark. And then the Los Angeles Chargers, we have quarterback DJ Oyugawili, wide receiver Dez Fitzpatrick, wide receiver Brendan Rice, which is Jerry Rice's son, offensive tackle David Sharp, and cornerback Trequise Bridges. All right, that's it for the AFC. A few names there that we've known. Some are shockers, some are not. Like I said, a lot of these will be picked up on practice squads and stuff like that. So this won't be the end of them, but still. Some will be the last football they played. Then we're going to go to the NFC East, which is, what we know best over here. Just start with the Dallas Cowboys. They released quarterback Will Greer, running back Malik Davis, running back Deuce Vaughn, which I believe that was the son of a coach. I don't know if the coach is still there or not. It was a very smaller back. I was surprised. I think he was drafted in the third or fourth round. Maybe it was later, but he was a surprise pick for me. You got a wide receiver Jalen Brooks, Jalen Cropper, Trayshawn Holden, and Josh Kelly. You got tight end Princeton Font, Rivaldo Fairweather, Tyler Neville, John Stevens Jr., Nick Broker at guard. Then we go to offensive tackle, which this was a little surprising for me. Lyle Collins. Kind of a veteran there. I didn't think that would happen. But you can go to offensive line as well. You got Nick Broker, Sadiq Charles, former commander, Jerron Christian, Hakeem Adeniji. And then we're going to go over to the defense. You got Christian Matthew. And then at defense end, you got Tyrus Wheat, Ernest Brown IV, and then defensive tackle Tommy Ikingbizote, Denzel Daxon, and then you got linebacker Justin Barron, Darius Harris, Buddy Johnson, and cornerback Troy Pride, C.J. Goodwin, Keeman Hall, Michael Ojemudia, and Robert Rochelle. And then at safety, you have Elijah Clark, Israel Mukamua, Mike Smith, and then defensive back Bruce Hartman. So a few names on there that was a little surprising, but nothing crazy. The New York Giants released old Tommy DeVito. And then you have running back Dante Miller, running back Jonathan Ward, wide receiver Jordan Bly, Dalen Cambry, Daquan Felton, Lil Jordan Humphrey, Zach Pascal, which I like Zach Pascal coming out of college. I thought he had some pretty good seasons when he was with the Colts. Just hasn't been able to get it all together. Amir Smith Marset, Montreal Washington, Juice Wells Jr., and then you go to tight end, you got Greg Dulwich, Jermaine Terry II, and then you go to offensive tackle Stone Forsyth, guard Jake Kubas, center Brian Hudson, and Jimmy Morrissey, and then offensive lineman Jason Williams as well. And then you go over to the defense. You got defensive line Elijah Chapman, Corey Durden, Elijah Garcia, Jeremiah Ledbetter, Jordan Riley. Then you go to linebacker KJ Cloyd, Deontay Johnson, Tracy Ford, Tommen Fox. And then you go to cornerback O'Donnell Fortune, Trey Hawkins III, D. Williams, and then safety Raheem Lane, Macarai Page, Kayvon Wallace, and kicker Jude McAtomney. Probably said that wrong. All right, we're going to go to the Philadelphia Eagles. You have quarterback Kyle McCord, Dorian Thompson-Robinson. Then you get a running back Montrell Johnson, Shunderick Powell, Keelan Robinson, and then wide receiver Ife Adeyi, Elijah Cooks, Giles Jackson, Terrence Marshall, Taylor Morin, Anais Smith, Avery Williams, and then we go to tight end E.J. Jenkins, Cameron Latu, Nick Muse, and then offensive tackle Kendall Lamb, Holland Pierce, Laken Vakavali, and then guard Kenyon Green, who that one was a little bit of a surprising one because he was taken pretty high from the Texans. I thought he was pretty decent, but I guess he struggled a little bit. You have a long snapper Charlie Huglett, defensive tackle Joe Evans, and then you got linebacker Chance Campbell, Lance Dixon, Dallas Gant, Patrick Johnson, Ochuan Mathis, Antoine Powell Ryland. Then you go to defense end, Jeremy Robinson, Justin Rogers, defensive tackle Jacob Skies, and then you go to cornerback Tariq Castro Fields, Brandon Johnson, Perry Nickerson, Eli Ricks, A.J. Woods. Then you got safety Maxon Hook, Andre Sam, and then defensive back Lewis Sign, and defensive tackle Jacob Skies. So a few names there for the Philadelphia Eagles. And then we go to the Washington Commanders, a team we over here know pretty well. So we're going to see who they kept and who they let go. Some of these names are probably going to surprise me. I haven't even looked at this list. You got quarterback Sam Hartman, which terrible preseason, so that doesn't surprise me at all. Running back Casimir Allen, Demetric Felton, wide receiver Ja'Cory Brooks. I thought maybe he had a chance to make it, which you might still get brung back on practice squad. We'll see. River Craycraft, Michael Gallup, Jacoby Jones, Tay Martin, Chris Moore, KJ Osborne, and Braylon Saunders. Then you go to tight end Lawrence Kager, Cole Turner, offensive tackle Bobby Hart, Tyreek Phillips, Foster Sarwell, guard Julian Good Jones, Timothy McKay, and the center Michael Dieter and Nick Harris. Then we go over to the defense. Defense end Cleveland Farrell, Jalen Holmes, Andre Jones Jr., TJ Markarianga. I said that wrong. Apologize. Defensive tackle Ricky Barber, Carl Davis, Sheldon Day, Norwell Pollard. Then we go to linebacker Cam Arnold, Duke Riley, and then cornerback Isang Basie, Antonio Hamilton Sr., Bobby Price, Carlin Vigors, and then you got safety Rob McDaniel, Ben Nickel, and Daryl Worley. So some of them names there, I'm not surprised. But some of those names, like Cleveland Farrell, if you watched the preseason, you knew he was playing late into some of the later games. I'm sure some of these names obviously are going to get brung back on the practice squad. if you look at the linebackers, though, that means some of those late linebackers, names aren't coming on the top of my head right now, but one from UCLA, and then the other one as well. That means they made the team, so that's a pretty big deal. But most of these people we knew pretty much weren't going to make the team. Then we're going to go to the NFC North, the Chicago Bears. You got quarterback Austin Reed, running back Britton Brown, Royce Freeman, Deion Hankins, Ian Wheeler. And you got a wide receiver. You got Maurice Alexander, Miles Boykin, J.P. Richardson, Tyler Scott, Samori Toure. And then you go to tight end. You got Steven Carlson, Thomas Gordon, Joel Wilson. You got offensive lineman Chris Glazer, Doug Kramer, Jordan McFadden, Joshua Miles, Bill Murray, Ricky Stromberg. Then you go to defensive tackle. You have Zach Pickens, Xavier Carlton, Jonathan Ford, Tanoa Kapasigan, Jamari Cremora. That's a difficult name. Zach Pickens is already on there. Swayze Bozeman, Power Eccles, Millard Bradford. Defensive backs. This is Major Burns, Alex Cook, Trey Flowers, Makai Gardner, Caleb Hayes, Tysheem Johnson, Mark Perry, and Jeremiah Walker, and as well as long snapper Luke Elkin. Then we're going to go to the Detroit Lions. Hendon Hooker. Wow, didn't think they were going to release him. Quarterback Hendon Hooker. Running back Deion Jackson. Running back Jacob Sailors. Wide receiver Ronnie Bell. Wide receiver Tom Kennedy. Jacoby Keeney James. Jackson Meeks. Malik Taylor. Then you go to tight end. You got Zach Horton. Gunnar Oaks. Steven Stellanos. And then you go to offensive line. You got Gunnar Britton. Tristan Colin. Zach Johnson. Netane Muti. Mason Miller. Michael Nyes. Dan Skipper was the big one that they released. I was very surprised about that one. Then you got Keaton Sutherland. Then you go to the defense. You got defensive lineman Miles Adams, Keith Cooper Jr., Broderick Martin. You got linebacker Mitchell Agudi, linebacker Deron Gilbert, Ahmed Hassanin. Said that wrong. Nate Lynn, Anthony Pittman, Isaac Okuwu, and then you go to cornerback Luke Barocco, DiCaprio Boodle, Alan George, DJ Miller, Tyson Russell, Nick Whiteside. And then you go to safety Eric Hallett II, Ian Kennelly, Norris, and Lauren Strickland. And we're going to go to the Green Bay Packers. You got quarterback Sean Clifford, Taylor Elgersma, Israel Abandiquanda, Tyron Davis Price, Armare Johnson, Jalen White. Then you go to wide receiver Kawan Baker, McCole Hardman. That's a name that'll get picked up most likely. Julian Hicks, Cornelius Johnson, Isaiah Neor, Will Shepard, and then you have tight end Johnny Lumpkin, tight end Messiah Swinson, Offensive tackle, Brendan Banks. Kadeem Telford. Then you got guard, Tyler Cooper. J.J. Lippy. Center, Trey Hill. Offensive lineman, Letitia Smith. Lekatis Smith. I don't know how you say that. Then we go to defense. Yeah, defensive lineman, Deslin Alexandre. James Esther. Aaron Mosby. Devontae O'Malley. Then you got linebacker, Jared Barlett. Jamin Johnson. Isaiah Simmons, which just can't seem to find a team to stay on. Christian Welch. Cornerback, Corey Ballantyne. Tyron Herring. Kalen King. And defensive backs, Jonathan Baldwin. Isaiah Dunn. Jalen Simpson. And kicker Mark Manami. We go over to the Minnesota Vikings. Quarterback Brent Ripon. Running back Trey Smith. Xavier Valade. Wide receiver Silas Bolden. Dante Fleming. Lucky Jackson. Jay-Sean Jones. Robert Lewis. Thayer Thomas. And then we go to tight end, Bryson Nesbitt, Giovanni Ricci, Nick Vanette. Then you go to offensive tackle, Logan Brown, Leroy Watson, Henry Bird, Vershani Lee, offensive lineman Zach Bailey, Michael Gonzalez. And then we go over to the defense. You have defensive lineman Travis Bell. Defensive lineman Jonathan Harris, Taki Tamani, and you got a linebacker Cam Gill, Dorian Maze, Gabriel Murphy, Maxwell Tooley, and then you go to cornerback Keelan Garber, Riddy Stewart, Ambry Thomas, Zamaya Vaughn, Gervarius Owens, Khalif Halasai, and safety Michelle Powell. I don't know why that threw me off. And punter Oscar Chapman. And then we're going to go to the Atlanta Falcons. You got cornerback Ben DiNucci, Easton Stick, running back Elijah Dodson, Carlos Washington Jr., Jashawn Corbin. Then we got a wide receiver Chris Blair, Dylan Drummond, Jesse Matthews, Nick Nash, a wide receiver Quincy Skinner Jr., tight end Nikola Kalanick, probably said that wrong. And Joshua Simon. Offensive tackle, Braden Parker, Matthew Cindric, Joshua Gray, Jake Hansen, Jordan Williams. Then we go over to the defense. You got defensive lineman Simon Barrow Jr., Morgan Fox, Contavious Street. Then you got a linebacker Ronnie Perkins, Caleb Johnson, Ronnie Harrison, Khalid Kareem, Nick Kubitz. Then you go to cornerback Kobe Bryant, C.J. Henderson, which they just signed him this not too long ago. Lamar Jackson, Dante Manning, Keith Taylor. Then you have safety Henry Black, Jordan Fuller, Josh Thompson, and then kicker Lenny Craig, which I believe that's the kicker that hit like I want to say it was like a 56, 57 yarder in the preseason. So I think the Commanders should take a look at him. Then we're going to go to the Carolina Panthers. They released quarterback Jake Plummer, quarterback Bryce Perkins, running back Amani Bailey, Raheem Blackshear, K'Ron Lynch Adams, wide receiver Kobe Hudson, Jacoby George, TJ Luther, Jasheem Reed, Hunter Renfrow. I guess I don't know what's going on with Hunter Renfrow. Was once a feared wide receiver. I don't know if he just lost a step or what it is exactly. Then you go to tight end Bryce Peer and Dominique Daphne. Then we go to guard Jay Tyre Carter. I probably said that wrong. Then offensive lineman Steven Lasova, Luke Kandra, Jarrett Kingston, Brandon Walton, Michael Tarquin. We go over to the defensive side. You got defensive end Jared Harrison Hunty, defensive tackle Sam Roberts, Shy Tuttle. Then you got linebacker Chris. Is it supposed to be? I think it's Chris Barnes. Boogie Bashman, Maz Mwansa, John Raddington, J.J. Weaver, Jacoby Windman. And then we go over to the cornerbacks. Shamir Bartholomew, Jatravius Broughton, Mello Dotson, Michael Reed, Trey Swilling. Then you have safety Jack Henderson, Isaac Gifford, Trevian Thomas, and then kicker Matthew Wright. We're going to go to the New Orleans Saints. They released quarterback Jake Hayner, running back Cam Akers, which I'm sure he's going to get picked up somewhere, unless he just doesn't have the speed he once had. Running back Clyde Edwards-Helaire, which, man, remember when he was with the Chiefs and he couldn't be stopped there for a little while. Marcus Yarns. Then you go to wide receiver Kevin Austin Jr., Roderick Daniels Jr., Moochie Dixon, Donovan Peoples-Jones, which I really liked him in college at Michigan. Dante Pettis. Then you go to tight end. You got Seth Green, Michael Jacobson, Trayton Welch. Then you have offensive tackle Josiah Ezerim, Easton Keeley or Kilty, Jonathan Mendoza. Then you go to guard Kyle Hergel, Mike Panasuk, and then offensive lineman Shane Lemux. Defensive side, some of these names I tell you are very hard to say. You got the defensive side. You had defensive end Jasheen Davis, Fadil Diggs, Isaiah Foskey, Jeremiah Martin, Omari Thomas, Jonah Williams. Then you have defensive tackle Jaden Peavy, cornerback Dallas Benham, Rico Payton, Jaden Price. Then you have linebackers DeMarco Jackson and Tyreme Powell, Nephi Sewell. And then we go to safety. You got Terrell Burgess, Elliot Davison, Charlie Smith at kicker, and punter James Burnip. So a few names there we know. And we're going to go over to the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. Quarterbacks Ryan Pratt and quarterback Kyle Trask, which you remember that Kyle Trask was the quarterback they took while Brady was there, and they wanted him to be the kind of take over as the quarterback there once Brady left, and obviously that has not come to fruition out of Florida. And then you have wide receiver Raheem Jarrett, Jaden Smith, and then you have defensive tackle Desmond Watson, and safety Shiloh Sanders, who I am sure is going to get picked up by a team. Maybe name recognition at most, but I believe he's not a bad player. Just I think the NFL speed, is a little much. Then we're going to go to the NFC West. We have the Arizona Cardinals. We're going to start off with. You have wide receiver Clayton Tooney. Quarterback Clayton Tooney. Running back Michael Carter. DJ Dallas. Then go to wide receiver Kelly Akahari. No, I said that wrong. I apologize. Andre Bashielia. Wow, some of these names. Bryson Green. Simi Fahoka. Nate McCollum. Tijon Palmer. Then you go to tight end. You have Oscar Cardenas. Josiah Dugaria. I apologize. Jeremiah Byers at offensive line. Offensive line, Jake Kernhan. McClendon Curtis. Sincere Hainsworth. Nick Leverett. Roy Mabitika. Royce Newman. And Donovan West. I think the Arizona Cardinals have had the hardest name so far. We're going to go over to the defensive side. You got Kion Bars, Anthony Goodlow, Patrick Jenkins, and Elijah Simmons. Then we go to the linebacker. You got Elliott Brown, A.V. Jones, Michael Walker, Benton Whiteley, and then you have cornerbacks Akoa Boydo. I apologize. Cornerback Stephen Gilmore, Darren Hall, and Jalen Jones. And then you got safety Jamin Robinson and long snapper Aaron Brewer. Arizona Cardinals have the hardest names so far on this. Some of those I know I 100% got wrong. Then we're going to go over to the Los Angeles Rams. You have quarterback Dresser Wynn, running back Ronnie Rivers, Cody Schrader. Then we go to wide receiver Britton Covey, True Edwards, Brendan Priestley, Drake Stoops, Jordan Waiters, and Mario Williams. We go over to tight end McCollin Castles, Mark Redmond, and Anthony Torres. Then you go to the offensive line. We have Ben Dooley, Trey Weddick, and then guard John Liglu, and then center Mike McAllister, as well as offensive linemen A.J. Arcuri, Wyatt Bowles, Willie Lampkin IV, Dylan McMahon, apologize. Then we go over to the defensive side. Decarius Hawthorne, defensive tackles Jack Heflin and Bill Norton. Defensive line DeJohn Terry. At linebacker you have Tony Felds II, Brendan Jackson, Jamil Muhammad, Elias Neal, Chris Paul Jr., Josh Percy, and then a safety Malik Dixon Williams. We're going to go to the 49ers. We have quarterbacks Carter Bradley, Tanner Mordecai, Nate Sudfeld, and then you go to running back Amir Abdullah, Corey Kiner, Keshawn Vaughn, Jeff Wilson. Then we go to wide receiver Junior Bergen, Robbie Chosen, which he was just signed not too long ago, Russell Gage, Isaiah Hodgins, Inquimia St. Brown, which is the brother of Detroit Lions wide receiver. I don't know why I'm blanking on his name right now. Tariq Owens, Malik Turner. And then you have tight end Braden Willis. And then you go to the offensive line. We have offensive tackle Andre Dillard. Offensive lineman Michael Dunn. Drake Nugent. Isaiah Prince. Nick Zakile. And then you go to the defensive side. We have defensive lineman Jalen Allen, Shaquille Brown, William Bradley King, Jonathan Garvin, Trevius Gibson, Damone Harris, Bruce Hector, Sebastian Valdez. Then we go down to the linebackers. You have Stone Blanton, Curtis Robinson, Jalen Graham, Chaz Surratt. Then you go to cornerback Dallas Flowers and Fabian Moreau. You have safety Jalen Mahoney. And then defensive backs Derek Canteen and Kevon Seymour, as well as punter Thomas Morstead. Then we go over to the Seattle Seahawks. We have running back Damian Martinez, Anthony Tyrus III, Jacardia Wright, fullback Wesley Steiner, wide receiver Tyrone Broden, John Rise Plumley, Marquez Valdez Scantling, Ricky White III. Then we have tight end Marshall Lang, as well as defensive tackle. Now we're on the defensive side. We have defensive tackle Quentin Bohanna, Anthony Campbell. And then we go back to offense. We have offensive tackle Luke Felix Fualo and Amari Kite. And then you have guard Satoa Lamia, as well as center Ferdicio Moranguez. Apologize screwing his name up. Now we go back to defense. We have Jalen Gaines, defensive tackle J.R. Sailington. And we go to linebackers, Seth Coleman, Derek Jackson, Patrick O'Connell, Josh Ross, Jamie Sheriff, Tariq Smith, Alfonso Tupulatala. And then we go to nose tackles, Brandon Peely, Bubba Thompson. And then we go to cornerback, Keedrain Callaghan, and cornerback Tyler Hall, as well as Isis Waxter. So there you have it. All the cuts from every team. Some names we know, some names we do not know. A lot of these names will be on the next 53-man roster. You know, a lot of these teams will make it. Some of these people are going to end up on practice squads, etc. Things like that. We're going to go over to the news page on ESPN real quick and see what updated news we have. Give me 1 second for this. Okay. All right, so we have some official news. Teddy Bridgewater is going to be the backup to... Okay. All right, so we got some news here. We'll go through this. Actually, we're going to end the video there for that one. We'll come back with a live stream in a little while. Do a little bit more of this so we can see what's going on. As you can tell, there was a lot of names here we did know, biggest names. Some of them are surprising. We'll go back up to the Commanders just because that's who we're a fan of. And, there was a few names on there that surprised, not really. Most of the names on there were pretty much who we knew were going to be, Like I said, a lot of those wide receivers, none of them really created separation or even caught passes. Like I said, Ja'Cory Brooks, I thought just had the most upside of most of the guys there. But yeah, that's what I said. Thank you guys for hanging out with me. That's all the cuts we had today. I'll come back and do a live in a little bit. And what we'll do is we will go through the news as well as go through some of the 53-man rosters. And then we'll go from there. So I appreciate you guys for checking in. And thank you for supporting. And we'll catch you back at the Read Zone.